Dr. Ruth Anderson here with Enlightened World Network, our day of transformation. I am here with Ken Rochon, and Ken is a co-founder of the Keep Smiling movement, and he has a weekly podcast called Amplified on Voice America, the Influencers channel. Now, Ken, we just want you to jump right in and share with us, what is the Keep Smiling movement?
Well, it is a transformation from a card being handed to someone to actually someone becoming an ambassador and telling people how important smiles are. And I'll cut to the biggest message that we're trying to get into a TED Talk, which is, what is your SPH? What are your smiles per hour? How many smiles are you giving yourself, and how many are you reflecting in the world to cause future smiles? And smile is probably the best energy quotient of recyclable energy that I can think of. And it's funny, but the more you give yourself, the more you give the world.
Okay, so most people don't make a living off of a concept like smiling.
Actually, they
So,
do. They make a big living off of it.
okay, right. Okay, so any living they're doing is impacted by how often they're smiling and connecting.
Yeah, I think there's so many studies, and I won't say that I know all of them, but we have something called the Science of Smiles, which is going to take a deeper dive. This is a third edition, but the fourth edition I intend to do at almost a doctorate level, to say that subject A went a year without us, and this is what they made, and they went through a year with us, and we're talking hundreds of subjects that will add smiling as their programming, as their exercise, as their protocol, as their count. And they're going to see probably a doubling, if not tripling, of their income, and also a doubling or tripling of their freedom of time, and also clarity in how their life will work better.
Okay, this is a really fascinating concept here. So our show today is about standing in your divine authority.
And why am I the lucky one that I get such a great, this is the most beautiful theme. It is great.
So you go with this. You are standing in your divine authority. I can feel it.
I
And
feel I am
all,
too.
yeah. I totally get that. And all the work that you're doing, working with folks and promoting folks, is helping them to stand in their divine authority.
Yes, and because you're saying this to maybe an audience that understands that terminology, and I'll be sharing this to an audience that may not understand that terminology quite as much, if you don't mind, can I just translate a little bit to who my listeners might be?
Absolutely.
So for me, the stand in is be your power, and divine is find out what you're calling to your spiritual guidance, and the authority is that you become an author leaving a legacy. And the authorship can be speaking, it can be being on podcasts like this, but it's authoring your voice so that it can be a legacy piece. And the reason I wanted to say that is because when you hear powerful words, but you don't know how those powerful words can be programmed into yourself, you are missing a lot of the translation and a lot of the access to that power. So I love the title, but I actually had to translate it for myself to know what a gift it was for me.
Right, right. Right behind you, you've got all of these pictures of books, and each one of those is somebody standing in their divine authority. So talk to me about what we're seeing behind you.
There, it's a banner. It's two of them, and it is basically what we bring the show, saying, "Hey, are you creating a dose of hope in life? Or do you have a book that is leaving a legacy that inspires people to leave a legacy as well?" And most people don't know they can be the one. And that's a really cool conversation, is that until my mom actually had Alzheimer's, I really believed that the one I was being was the one I was supposed to be, which was the best DJ in the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia, the best wedding DJ, the person who knew the most about music, that could mix the most. And there's nothing wrong with having that as one of your expectations or standards or gradients, especially if it's your income and your way of providing um, abundance to your life and the people you love. However, is it congruent with why you are put in this earth? And that was quite a wake up, because of my mom's passing, and also the whole period of taking care of her, that life is extremely precious and you don't
Right.
know how long you have it. And I know that you too are dealing with this
Mhm.
emotional ride. It is probably one of the hardest things anyone has to go through, and it's one of God's really crazy uh I guess I won't call it a joke, but it's one of the craziest messages you can possibly get, is the person you know the most becomes the complete switch and antithesis of your life coming into the world of being a baby. They're actually
Right.
going to that level. And so with that, I thought, you know what? I promised myself for 30 years I was going to write a book. And I just did it because that promise to me was reflecting my uncle, my grandmother, all these people that were at least had one book. And then I also saw the antithesis of it. People that were brilliant, that were related to me, going bye-bye, and they had no download of their heart or their mind. Their stories were gone. Everything was gone.
Right.
So between those two, I said, you know what? I'm starting the book the day my mom passed. And I didn't start immediately, but my conversation was, I am committed to getting this done in 1 year. And so setting deadlines is really a huge part of standing in your divine authority. And, it sounds so basic, but every single one of the books I've done, I paid a dear price to keep my deadline, meaning it could be stressful. And I learned that stress is not part of it. So I give myself a deadline with a cushion. So the integrity is
Okay.
already there. And this is not about adding stress to your life. This is about being committed. And commitment and attachment are is probably one of the biggest distinctions I'll say that I've learned in life is abundance. Abundance is created because commitment does not allow you to be detracted from where you're going, no matter how you get there. But attachment does, because you has to look a certain way. And the second doesn't look that way, you have the excuse of, well, this doesn't work. And this isn't the way I thought it was going to be. And so you walk away. So I would have never guessed that 7 years after my mom's passing, that I would have to wait that long for the sign. Because for me, this was the card that when it was handed to me, I saw everything. I said, for 7 years, I have been waiting to think about that every single day, going on a stand in your divine authority. And I'm cranking out books. By the time I get this, I'm in my 15th book. Still no direction of my calling. Definitely direction of what makes me happy and what matters and what is heading towards legacy, but not a purpose-driven calling that was so simple. And so I said, you know what? If I'm capturing leaders that are causing smiles in the world, those are the people I want to support. I'm a marketing guy. I understand marketing. So if I can support leaders that are causing smiles, I will be living in my divine life, my divine authority.
Now, how do you find these leaders that are causing smiles?
It's actually pretty simple if you think about how to filter. So if you filter in, for instance, our space, okay, wellness, spirituality, you are finding many leaders that the content and their heart is there completely, but not necessarily their campaign or their distribution or their marketing. And so it's not too hard to find them. It's actually easy because I defined personal development. I defined leadership itself, definitely veterans. There's authors, speakers, and I'm not saying they're all pure, but you find the ones
Sure.
in that space that touch your heart, and you say, "Wow, I see that their reviews are really good, but there's not that many, and I see that their content's really good, but their engagement's not." And then I help them, and if you help someone, the relationship will already become valuable. So I've never done a sale since my mom left. I haven't done a sale. The nature of how I talk to people is I am here to help you. I don't always say the word serve, but I'm here to help you because if I give you that value, we'll figure things out that'll create abundance in the past, in the future. And it works out. It's a great way of approaching a relationship. And I can't get all these books done if I don't help them get those books done. If it's a sale, like this is what it cost and this is what you have to come up with, then it's a new conversation and it's actually not your mission. And I'm not saying that you throw away money or you throw away selling and paying your bills. That's not what I'm
Right.
saying at all. But what I am saying is that if you bring so much value to each person that you are working with, the value will translate into abundance. And it's in all kinds of ways. It could be someone make a donation. Someone could say, you know what, you pay for this. This is actually taken care of from now on. I mean, I have an office that, quite frankly, I might lose because of COVID. I'm an entertainment guy. I'm a speaker. I'm a camera guy. And so not going to events, I have an office that's just sitting there. It's bare and I don't want to lose it. I've had that office for 37 years. And yesterday morning, I came up with this idea. What if I found 10 nonprofits that I could help get a headquarters, a marketing plan, and things like that? And they only gave me $250 a month to have their headquarters also at my office. And that would take care of the bill, period.
Right.
It's just a way of thinking. And I don't think I'll lose the office if I am serious about that particular conversation.
Right. And if I were one of those nonprofits, I would want a secretary there in the building that I could
Right.
call and have
Yep.
that person be my assistant in some
Exactly.
ways. Yeah,
Yep.
right, right. So, talking about abundance, there are a lot of light workers out
Hmm.
in the world. And to me, a light worker is someone, regardless of vocation, it's somebody who's helping to bring divine light into the world.
Exactly.
There's a lot of light workers that are hesitant to seek financial remuneration for the work that they do.
Hmm.
And it's a really hard line for folks. Not all folks. Some folks are really comfortable, charging for their time,
Mhm.
charging for their services, and others just can't cross that line of I'm providing a valuable resource to folks. My time is valuable. I'm worthy of helping folks. Do you have any advice for those people that
I, I
just
do.
can't get over that line?
Yeah, I have a lot of advice for them. I'm not going to take a lot of time because it's actually pretty simple, but the advice is probably two or threefold. One advice is you're willing to give your gift to others, but you're not willing to give the gift of what you cause with others. That's something to really take in, because what would it be like if someone gave them the gift that would solve their problems in life, and you said, I'd like to give you just helped me make $100,000. I'd like to tithe 20,000 back to you. And you said, no, I'm not going to do that. How does that make that person feel? It makes them feel actually not like giving anymore, because it was a cooperation. And I notice every time I give a thank you in the numeration of roughly 20%, I tithe about 20% of my donations. So someone might do a book, $2,500 check comes in. And by the way, not a sale. I cannot emphasize that enough. Not a sale. Someone decides they would like to donate that amount, and that is because of their abundance level. Let's be clear. We do so many books that are not even $1 donation. I want to make sure that's really super clear, because when you are doing these books and you say, well, the donation is $2,500, and it's always that's called a sale. That's a straight up sale. But if someone decides they want to donate 1,000, 500, or zero, it has to be okay because you decided to do something for them. So if an example of $2,500 donation coming in, which does happen, we tithe $500 to the person that actually created that donation, because we want them to know that they changed their life. And this could be sales rhetoric. It could be manipulation. Not when there's 20 or 30% or 40%. Actually, it's about 40% of the books behind me. We scholarshiped. We paid for out of our pocket. And we did it because we believed in the person that we were creating that divine partnership of authority. I mean, think about this. You have someone that's washing dishes. I won't give names. Someone washing dishes that was a superstar, and they have the gift of being able to have kids be inspired to chase their dreams and be, you know, the people they want to be. And you have that person washing dishes instead of out there in schools. You are actually not showing your power of what you can do to change their life. So we have lots and lots of scholarship stories. And our conversation kind of goes like that. Hey, if you're not in a state of abundance, we believe in you. We'd like you to do this book. We're going to create this book as a marketing piece to let the world know that you exist. We support you. We want them to support you. But more importantly, your story is so inspiring. It's going to inspire the people that read it to be bigger in life. And
Right.
that's really the big reason we're doing it. We're doing it to support that person. We're doing it because their message is so good. We want others to be inspired by it.
So, looking at those books, they
Mhm.
all seem to have a theme. They're all sort of similar, but talk us through one of these books. What is that like? Is each one a different
It
person that you're highlighting?
It is. I'll show you the one. And by the way, if I didn't make this clear, every book that I'm showing on the screen is a book that I'm not only going to send you, but I'm going to make sure is available if people want to reach out directly to us and say, hey, I saw 10 books. Can you send them all to me? We send them because we don't know which book is going to touch their heart. We don't know if all
Uh,
10 of them will cause them to say, I know somebody who needs to read this. So this particular book is called The 100. It's very unique in that it is the 100 people that we picked that have their own. Do you see that they have their own book?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you said the book themes seem to be close. They're probably close in spirituality, but I'd say they're quite divergent in sub themes. So one theme might be women empowerment. Another theme might be bald. Bald, beautiful, and bold is one of the themes. We have themes for Atlanta. We have themes for speakers, legacy. I think it's about 30 or 40 themes we have right now. No, it's about 40. And
Oh,
it's going to go to 100, I would say, because we're picking the 30 cities that Southwest goes to. So there'll be an Atlanta book, which we already have, Las Vegas book. So the top 30 cities Southwest goes to, because we want Southwest to be a partner with us, and we
I
want
was
that.
going to say there's a reason there's a
Of course.
Southwest connection there.
Well, Southwest rides with their heart, and I haven't seen any incongruency of them actually serving with happiness and joy. And that is the closest I've seen to a corporation that really embodies what we're trying to do in the world, which is remind people they can shift their attitude into joy, and that joy will actually be the gift they give themselves, and then they give it to the world. And when you give it to the world, someone all of a sudden wakes up and says, you know what, you just made my day. Tell me about you. And when they find out who they are, they say, we got to be in touch. We got to do something together. And
Right.
a smile always evokes some type of positive interaction.
Cool. Okay, show me a book.
Okay, so we're on a show together today because of this young lady. And the gold heart actually is symbolic of her winning a gold heart in the space of marketing. This woman right here is a woman in the DC that everyone calls her when they have a big event. And the star is because she's the people's choice. When people have a huge event in the DC area, they call her to be the voice of that event. This gentleman right here is Ron Monk, and he is taking on probably the biggest task I've seen out of all my authors. He is um, taking on a city that has the #1 homicide record in the United States, Baltimore, and he is putting the nonprofits together with rich, abundant people to have really socialized events with games and contests where the money goes to help support these nonprofits. But he's going directly into the problem where the kids are not getting the guidance, the mentorship, and the love they need.
Mm.
And I was told this, I think it was last year in the fall, it was that if one person believes in a kid, they have a 96% chance of getting their degree,
Wow.
their high school degree.
Wow.
And that hit me so hard. I was like, one person, not even a qualified person, just a human.
Right, right, right,
Okay.
right, right,
So think about it if it was someone that's successful. I mean, and one of the great examples is Dr. Ben Carson. Whether you like him or not, his
Mhm.
mom was illiterate, and she had him read every single day. And when he said, "I don't know what this word means," she says, and he'd say, "Well, what does it mean, mommy?" And she goes, "You need to find out. That's your job. I don't need to know that. You need to know that." Or she said something like that, and it
Right,
caused him to build his vocabulary. I want to give a shout out to a woman named Jennifer Hammond. She's on SiriusXM, but she's doing a very big book for veterans. Not this book, another book called 101 Resources for Veterans. Think about 5 years of her having all these interns, and she doesn't take a penny for it. She made these books available to interns, to veterans, because not every veteran that comes back knows that they have all these resources available to them, and they might be hurting, they might be alone. And
right.
so this book really addressed that. And just to show you how deep the themes go, this is Africa. So these are all Africans I've met at embassies in DC. These are all photographers that photographers are
S-
probably my favorite people because they capture smiles. And
Sure.
I don't have a better ally. If someone can capture a smile and send it to me, we have books that we're creating. We have 10,000 people that have held our card, and not one of them that we've asked to hold a card has said, no, I don't want to. I don't want to support a movement that's about smiles. Not one.
Right, right. So each of those pictures is a picture of a person, and then there's a quote or something underneath it. What are the
Yeah,
quotes about?
there's up to 4 components that a person can do. So one component is make sure their name is the way they want it, then comma, who they are in the world, author, speaker, podcaster, etc. Below is a quote where they interject perhaps their favorite quote with the word smile in it. To give you an idea, Henry Ford said something like, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So if I was to say that's my favorite quote, I would modify, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So smile. Okay.
I
So,
see. Got
so,
it. Okay.
so it's just the creativity of adding. So that way we can guarantee that every page has a smile in the picture and has a smile in the quote that has people inspired in the minute. And that's what the idea is. And then the back, is really a TED Talk technology of how to create a chapter as a leader that may not have a book and how to do it in roughly 2 hours. And that's an insanely quick time. But
Wow.
if you think about it, most people that do a book, they don't do a book about themselves because they're quote unquote not worthy yet.
Sure.
Okay. But when you are actually doing great in the world, you have actually been unstoppable in developing your who. When you're doing great things in the world, you have been unstoppable in creating your who. That is actually your journey. And we want people to know that there's a journey that's not always pretty. Some journeys start off so bad, there's no way someone would bet on them making it out. So every one of these authors would make you honestly cry. I mean, they're that touching. There's people that have been molested. There's people that have just been on the streets, homeless, made really bad choices even, and they got straight and they overcame some really really huge challenges. And I don't think that's not true of anyone. Anyone who's done greatness in the world had to overcome challenges, failures, obstacles. And I think when we are living a life of despair and lack of hope, we are forgetting that all those people had to go through it too. And so when you give up, that's the only bad choice. You know, I knew the Keep Smiling movement would be a success. There's only one reason I knew it, because I wouldn't stop. That's the only reason I knew for sure that it would be a success. And by the way, it's nowhere near the success it will be. If anyone wants to read a book that I think is highly motivational and inspirational, any book by Malcolm Gladwell, but specifically Tipping Point,
Mm.
talks about when you put energy into something, it doesn't come back as a result that you want to see when you put all that energy out. But all of a sudden, all that cumulative energy actually has a payback that is unexplainable for the efforts you put forth in the future. So you may put 10,000 hours in the end, that you're getting back hundreds of thousands
Right.
of results. And it's almost inexplicable. And it's good that it is that way, because if it was too easy, you wouldn't actually cherish it when it actually happens.
Right. So we talked a little bit about spirituality. In this passion of yours,
Mm-hmm.
where do you see your spirituality feeding into this?
Easy. When I lost my mom, I was already very spiritual, but I was spiritual without the right guidance. And so I asked for guidance, and I prayed about what my life was supposed to do to serve humanity, was supposed to do to serve God. And every single conversation I had with myself and with my belief was about how does my life serve to make a difference in the world. Because my mom made such a difference to me, I said my life now from here on out is a tribute to her. If I don't create something with my life, I'm actually insulting the person that brought me in the world, insulting the person that believed in me and said I could do anything. And that's that one person. So I said, I'm going to every single day, I'm going to give to people and not worry about me and see where it takes me. And it took me everywhere. Within 6 months, and by the way, this is factual on Facebook, meaning you can look up all this stuff I'm going to tell you. Within 6 months of me opening up after my mom's passing, a media company to help promote leaders and nonprofits and causes that were doing good in the world that I believed in, that I would work for free for. I want to make that clear. The reason I want to work for free is to see if I made a difference. Like if you charge,
Yes.
you don't know you're making a difference. There's two problems there. You don't know what to charge. You also don't know what you can deliver. But if you just say, I'm going to make a difference with my skill set, and you make the difference, you will be rewarded. So within 6 months, two times the White House, one time with the NFL Ravens, which is a blue collar town, and one time with the NFL Redskins, white collar town.
Mm.
That was all in the first 6 months. And by the way, I'd never had any of that stuff happen to me. So I did 330 events for free my first year after my mom passed. And I did that to
Wow.
see what does it look like to go out every day and actually give a skill and a talent you have to the world of, I won't call it purity, but people that really want to make a difference, that have their intention is so beautiful that they just need a boost. They need some amplification, which is why my show became called Amplified. Because if you amplify goodness, you're actually not distorting truth. You're just letting it be louder.
So talk about your show for just a minute. So you are on Voice America on
Mm-hmm.
the Influencers channel. You're interviewing folks that have made a difference in the
Totally.
world. Okay.
Yes, I am selective. I consider that show worth, $4,000, $5,000 a week because of what I put into it and what Voice America does to partner with it. And they're a phenomenal partner. So I'm very picky to make sure I have people like you, like Terry, that are a stand for humanity, a stand for the voice of inspiration, a stand for leadership. And so when I have people on, I look at the show as, hey, I can only have 50 something shows a year.
Right.
I meet way too many people. It's got to be someone that's going to really light up the audience. So we have really interesting conversations, and there's definitely humor connected to it because I think that people forget life is not supposed to be serious. It's actually supposed to be fun. It is supposed to be a fun journey. And if you're not having fun on this journey, you're probably doing it wrong. I assure you, the more I've smiled, the more fun I have, but the more I actually find abundance, the more I find that life is really what it's supposed to be. I'm not talking about it being a joke. Even though my
Right.
son has a
Right. Right.
joke book and he might come in and tell the joke, life is not a joke, but life is actually joy if you are playing it right. And that's probably caused because of who you're giving to and who you're giving in.
Right. Thanks, Ken, for that. Now, I think probably my last question here, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to share what you want to provide for folks with your books. Parenting,
Hmm.
helping a child. You've got two children,
I've
is
got
that right?
one. I've got
You've got
one.
one.
Yes.
Helping your son stand in his divine authority. What does that look like, parenting a child like that?
Well, this is my favorite question of all, I have to tell you. So thank you for that. When he was born, before he was even born, I did a book to actually tell him what my message would be. Because if he's born and something happens to me and he doesn't get to know me, I already had a book ready for him. And the
Oh,
book was Making Friends Around the World. And I believed in acceptance. I believed in every single culture is a gift. to humanity. And so I wanted to teach him languages, culture, and leadership, and thinking globally. Thinking globally. So within a week or two of him being born, I made a Facebook page with his nickname K3 because I'm Ken 2 and my dad's
Okay.
Ken 1. So
Yeah.
he was K3, and we put a page. He's got 500 likes on that page. People that follow that page. We don't work it very hard, but
Yeah.
the point is, I put on that designation for the top URL, I put Facebook K3 game changer. So I thought what I want him to be is to change the game, to make life more fun, to make leadership more fun, to make inspiration more fun. So every single day I've ever been a father to him, I've treated him like a future leader. I treat him with respect and I expect it back. So everything's very mutual. We have conversations that when he's being a certain way, is that how a leader acts? Is that how he'd lead his son? And so they're pretty in-depth conversations. And he is at some level in some parts of his life, he is at an eighth grade level in maturity. Certainly in his communication skills, and his vocabulary is really impressive.
But how old is he now?
He's 7. He just
He's
turned 7.
7.
Yeah.
Right.
But I taught eighth grade. So I taught it so long. I actually, from age 3, I was treating him like an eighth grader. I mean, because critical thinking and problem solving, I know there's some cognitive development issues with regard to the different stages of how your brain develops, but it is interesting that if a kid can't grab it, they can still see it and see the magic in it, and seeds are happening. So he is quite the critical thinker. He solves problems that I can't solve sometimes. He actually can look at something and say, Daddy, let me see if I can fix this. And I don't do what some parents that have ego might do and say, no, you can't fix it. I can't fix it. I say, okay, let's see if you can do it. And he does. More times than not, he does fix it. And it's something I really can't fix, honestly.
Right. So with Kenny coming into the world,
Hmm.
you saw the world being impacted just by his being in it.
Right. And him
What
being my divine authority.
what an amazing message to give your child.
Mhm.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and my mom and dad loved me so much. I looked at how my love could translate into something I wish I had had. Because when you're an entrepreneur, quite frankly, you're a rebel. And my mom and dad had come from a whole line of very conservative. You get a job, you go to college, you do all the things you're supposed to do. And
Right.
I wasn't feeling it, I wasn't fitting it. So my son has a lot more of an open mind to how to break the rules, but also break them where you're doing powerful things.
That's great. Thank you for helping us
And I
stand in our divine authority
and
today.
can I show his new book? This is his new book, and it's
Kenny's favorite jokes.
Kenny's favorite jokes. His very first book, and he sold something like 30 in the last week or two. And he knows that he's getting roughly $10 out of each of those books towards his college education. He's allowed to divide it into education, and the other half into fun. That way, he has both sides balanced.
That's great. So, what are your last words? How can folks access the books that you are making available to us?
The keepsmilingmovement.com, Ken Rochon on Facebook. We have a Keep Smiling ambassador group, which is so much fun. It's about almost 3,000 people that are like you and me. They're sharing joy every day. And so you get doses of joy in these posts. Everyone is posting things that are really about reminding us we have so many gifts to be thankful for. So that is a great place to go. Um, my main message to everyone that's listening is if you don't have a book, consider that your life is an inspiration to someone else. And it really is your duty to let the ones you love know that they mean something to you and that you have something you want to leave behind for them to be inspired by. And then this second part, which is maybe not as powerful, is if you're not living a life that deserves a book, choose to live a life that inspires you so that you write a book that inspires others. And so I just think leaving a book is a great way of leaving your story, leaving your wisdom, and really changing someone's life that may have needed it.
Excellent. Can't thank you enough for
You're
being here
welcome.
with us today.
My
To
new
all of
friend.
Yeah, I know. That's fabulous. All of our friends stay here on Enlightened World Network. Be watching for whatever's coming up live next, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. And you're doing a book.
Cool. I want to do a book. That's
Awesome.